Behind the Shades.
There was someone I knew who most of the men that she would date, or many of the men I should say that she would date, they were alcoholics.
Yeah.
And when you pinpoint that is because there's alcoholic abuse in her life as a child, right? Because her parents abused alcohol. So even though you don't want to excuse it, but to her defense, is all that she knew. So this was her template.
Yeah.
Right? My mom and dad love each other, but there's alcohol. They're always drunk. They argue when they drink, so on and so forth. So you begin to realize, or you begin to assume, saying that if I want love, I need to find someone who is drinking that way. And I know we touched on it earlier. It could be a scary place to go back to your childhood and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's much needed because, as you mentioned, it's better to do it than not to do it. But what would we say to someone who is, I know it's sooner than later, right? But what if they're at the point where, and you probably get clients that's like this, where they're so defeated, they're so alone, they're so sad, and they're just thinking, I don't know what it is. Yes, my childhood was bad, but to me, Caurel, it wasn't that bad until you start to go through it with them, and then you're like, whoa, it was that bad.
I hear that often. It wasn't that bad. And I think that's someone that their feelings, their emotions, their thoughts have been minimized for so long, to the point now that that's just their pattern. It's thinking that, oh, what I've experienced, even if they're experiencing it right now, it's not that big of a deal. The thing is, it is, because they don't have a model of what it could look like if you didn't experience that, right? And that was the struggle that I had, is that everybody around me had similar experiences. So you're not thinking that there's something going on. So it's for that person to now see or get another representation of what it could look like, right? And talking them through that and giving them a different perspective and changing their perception, or facilitating, giving them a space to change that perception, because all they know is that thought process. All they know is that it looks like this. So if you give them a different way to look at it, and it's the version of them that's actually getting it, is not them today, because it's the child that thinks that way, right? So the process that I use, I actually incorporate hypnotherapy that allows for you to quiet the conscious mind and access the subconscious mind, because that's where your beliefs are. So I use that process, or, where it allows for you to then reframe the scenes that are playing in your head to tell you who you are, and giving you more power through understanding to actually, make some changes to the thoughts that you have and installing new beliefs.
So take us through the hypnotherapy aspect of it, because that sounds interesting to me. I've always been a little hesitant. I don't want to say scared, or, but it goes back to what you mentioned, right? The powerless thing. I just feel that if someone is able to I don't want to say control, but let's say influence myself in that manner, right? I'm always a little, I don't know, can I bring someone with me to make sure that I don't wake up? We've seen those horror movies, right? We've seen Saw, we've seen, yeah. So I don't want to wake up and half of my body is in, Toronto, and the other half is in like Winnipeg. Yeah, right?
Sometimes I watch these movies and I'm like, oh my God, you guys are going to be my business hard. That is so far from the truth. The one thing I'll give you an example. So you're driving from point A to point B, and you're like, damn, how did I get here? When did I get here? It's pretty much, it's just a trance. Have you ever meditated?
I have. Actually, I used to do it daily. Now I do it weekly. Yes.
Yeah. It's very similar to meditation. You're basically just sitting there observing your thoughts. I'm not going to have you quacking like a duck or nothing. It's really just, you have the control. Like, I can't force you to do anything that you don't want to do. I can't force you to tell me anything that you don't want to tell me. The mind will give you what it wants to give you. And as long as you have the information and we're making sense of it and we're giving you a different perspective, you're perceiving it differently, that's all. It's all really you. I'm just the facilitator, right? Because the conscious mind is going to want to, if we're having this conversation right now and we're talking about things, your conscious mind wants to fight to say, okay, I don't want her to know that, so I'm not going to tell her. The conscious mind now, it wants to give you the information. You still have the option to not tell me, but your resistance is a little bit lower because you want the healing, you want to heal, right? And you're in a space where you're not being judged. You're in a space where you feel safe. You're in a space where you still have control. If you want to just get up and go, you could just get up and go.
So no drugs, no tying them down, nothing. Okay.
Nothing.
So it's safe, everyone. She's there to help,
It's
right?
very safe.
Not to kidnap.
I make sure I create that environment because I know what it is. I also went through the course clearly, and I've also gone through a couple of sessions because I have my own stuff, right? And if I'm not grounded, if I haven't dealt with my stuff, I won't be able to give you 100%. So I know what the experience feels like. You are still pretty much aware. It's just that you now hear your subconscious thoughts versus the conscious thoughts that want to fight back, want to resist. It's just a place of giving you understanding so you can feel powerful. Because right now, to be honest with you, a lot of us still feel powerless, even though we have control. You really aren't living the life you want to live, essentially, because you're allowing your traumas to dictate to you how you show up. So, I mean, if you really want to feel powerful, you might want to just do it.